We've been speaking about squad depth across Europe and competing in the Champions League across multiple fronts for a lot of these elite clubs. How about in the Premier League, where there are still a number of teams competing, of course, domestically and in Europe? When we take a look at Liverpool, of course, who are still in 3 competitions, Craig, played 36 times. Wolves have played 2 more games than them. They only have the Europa League still to worry about. But if the Premier League wants, like last season, a champion across the UEFA Champions League and also the Europa League, how are these sides best fixed to manage all of the competitions in front of them?
Well, I don't think Arsenal are, considering the turmoil and the changes there. I don't think United are at the moment either. That could change this month, of course. But with the Rashford injury, the Pogba injury, and the news that, not that we're going to, that they can't recall Alexis Sanchez from Inter, not that they would want, I'm not suggesting they'd want to do that, but if you're bare bones, you might want somebody back. But they can't because they haven't got a recall in the contract, apparently. So when you factor all the things in, the injuries at the back, they've had the injuries in midfield. You know, it's strange to say this, but they're not in a great position squad-wise at the moment. They're trying to hunt down Chelsea for the top 4. They're still in the FA Cup. They're still in the Carabao Cup, technically, as we speak. Technically. But they've got problems, like Arsenal. I think Wolves are in a decent position, you know. There's no real pressure on them to get, well, I say, there's no outside pressure to get in the top 4, right? There'll be some internal pressure, and there'll be some goals and stuff that they'll look at and say, are we really a poorer side than Chelsea and United and the likes? And we could go for this, but then they're balancing some competitions as well.
Well, that's it, isn't it? The likes of Tottenham and the likes of Wolves, they've got the eyes on the top 4, which is really the main carrot. But there's this other side to it, especially for Wolves, where they think, well, we're having a dream season in Europe. First time in 40-odd years we're in Europe.
And we could win that and get Champions League football that way.
If we concentrate that way, we give our fans something special. But the Premier League always seems to boss it right. They're going to try and put out the strongest team there.
Yeah. Someone
like Mourinho has trouble getting out results at the moment because he's missing so many key pieces, particularly Harry Kane.
Yeah, they're not in a great position squad. They're in one of the poorer positions as well because of the injuries, the form. So they've got some, but they've got a big Champions League game coming up. It's like, I can't remember who they got, but
Bayern. No, not Bayern. Bayern is Chelsea, but Bayern.
They don't want to see Bayern again. But so they're juggling that. The Kane thing's a big issue, and he's probably going to be out pretty much the rest of the season. They're an outside bet for top 4 in terms of how far they're off. It doesn't look likely. But on the other side, it doesn't look like they're not going to be strong enough to win the Champions League either. So I think from Tottenham's perspective, it's about the foresight of looking forward, for Mourinho in particular. You know, unlikely to have any real success this season. So it's about squad. I know we're talking about squad, but it's about how he can improve that squad going forward. And he does need a bit of time. So they, you know, and then you've got, if I missed anybody out, you've got Chelsea, who may go out, and there's been talk about Cavani coming in. We know their problem, generally their problem has been up front because they've dominated a lot of games, but they haven't necessarily killed teams off. Case in point, the weekend, Newcastle. They might try and improve that position. He has to play, I think, his stronger team in the league, because he can't be seen, I don't think, for all. Frank Lampard, I don't think is going to look good if these other teams that are chasing catch them and overturn them for the top 4, because the chasing pack are not. Wolves are a good side, but they're not a side you would necessarily think at the start of the season would be pushing for the top 4. But the sides that you would think are United and Tottenham and Arsenal have been poor. And so I think Frank Lampard, having got them in a position of relative strength in that top 4, can see that being whittled back. And I think that's a priority for them via the league. And I think we'll see that in terms of how he shapes his team going forward. The Liverpool one's interesting because, you know, City are fighting all 4 fronts and they've had the problems. Liverpool would be fighting all 4 fronts. What can you do? You got the EFL Carabao Cup one day, and you got the Club Championship in the Galapagos Islands, or wherever it was, you know, within 24 hours. You can't. You just can't. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I know people moaned, well, they should have sent half to, where was it? I know it wasn't the Galapagos Islands.
In Qatar.
Correct. And people were saying, send half of them to Qatar and send half of them to Villa and split it. But I think it was important to the club that listen, I'm not a big fan of the Club World Championship. And
it's getting bigger.
Isn't everything? I'm not a huge fan. I think in Europe and certainly in the UK, it's sort of brushed aside. Different continents, South America, look at it differently. I understand that. I think for the club it was important. Apparently for Liverpool it was important for their global branding, their commercial side, and I understand that. So they took the big boys and they played the kids at Villa, and they got hammered. It's shame on the kids, but it's the way. Sometimes that's the way it goes. But that didn't give them a fair way of trying to juggle the squad because the games were too close. Otherwise, they would have been in four. But they've juggled the squad in general pretty much the best at the moment. City have done all right considering all their injuries. Apart from the fact they're miles off in the Premier League, so they haven't been able to juggle it that well when they're so far behind Liverpool in the Premier League. So yeah, all these squads have got something, but I think Wolves, United, Chelsea under a bit of pressure. I think Arsenal are kind of like, whatever happens at Arsenal happens at the end of the season, then they go from there. Arteta tries to rebuild. But the two at the top, I've got the big Champions League thing to think about. And you mentioned Wolves and Man United, Chelsea all juggling for that top four, and Wolves and United for the Europa League as well. So lots for managers to think about. Yeah.
English dominance again this year, do you think, or not?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, I think Liverpool are the other team to beat in Europe, but Real Madrid are playing well again. Juventus are starting to hit their straps. PSG, could it be the year they don't buckle in the knockout stages, in the knockout? They've got the firepower up front. I think we could see one English team in the final, and I think we could see a Juventus in the final this year if Ronaldo keeps his form up and Sarri juggles that very heavy squad well. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's going to be English dominance, but just because two teams got to the final last year.
No, okay.
It happens.
Tottenham have got Leipzig, by the way.
Right. So yeah, I wonder who it was. I thought Bayern. But with Bayern,
they played Bayern in the group stage.
They're just keeping it German.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
They enjoy playing Bayern so much, taking that Tonkin. They want to play another German side.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to it in the end.
Yeah, we did.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.